Support for Short Stops is presented by the Caylum Trading Institute. Check out our website at www.cayluminstitute.com. On today's episode,
for us in the house, we trade so many markets. We trade Hong Kong, Japan, US, and neglected markets such as these has happened in Hong Kong. So many times.
Correct.
And once you get used to it, you understand. Yes, there's an underlying problem. You don't want to push it, and you have to really be patient and wait it out until the time comes when things become clear again. Kasi pag bago ka, oh no, like, I want to make money already. How do
Or
I
takot
do it?
ka, parang, how do I do? Kasi bumabagsak.
Oh, or you question, is this for me? I mean, it happens to all of us.
call it what you want, a game, an experiment, a gamble. But stock trading in the global financial markets to us is a business. Every day you're surrounded by the noise. Buy, sell, hold, buy more. And we're going to quiet it down and filter out the best trading strategies, tips, and stock picks. You want information on how to find your next bagger or home run? You'll find it right here on Short Stops.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here at episode number 23 of Short Stops. With me today is Jensen and Leonard.
Hi.
Hello.
But before we get there, I know a lot of you guys have been wondering what's happening to the markets. We hit a resistance on the 200-day around 7879, and I was actually very, very worried. And if you look back at our previous podcast with Jason Mariposa, I think we mentioned all the same things that are happening before are different from all the previous drops that we have. Today, we're having inflation, we're having interest rates climbing up, and it's not just external, but a lot of internal risk. I do believe that inflation today is something more serious because if you look at all the entire Southeast Asian counterparts, we're the only country hitting 6.4%, much higher than everybody else. So I hope you guys understand that this is a long process. Take it slow, take it easy. We're very bullish in the medium term, but we're gonna have a lot of short-term volatility. And when I say short-term volatility, I don't know how low this market can go. And if you ask me today if I'm worried, my answer is yes. But this drop, I believe, is always an opportunity for buying, not for being scared. So keep in mind, we are bullish, we are buying at this drop, but the question is, how deep will this go? And my answer for you guys is to be patient, wait this out. I honestly believe we're gonna be hitting 6.9s again and even lower maybe. But this is an opportunity for us to be buying, not to be selling. Okay? This topic today is very special. It's because we're going to be talking about mechanical into intuitive trading. Going from that journey as somebody who started off from a systematic framework, for example, for us, the FTSR framework, and now you find more about yourself. You experiment, you build up experience, and you build up on your craft, and now you find out what you specialize in. For example, Leonard, maybe it's more on knowing stories, on fundamental, having a deeper analysis. And then Jensen, maybe you know when to push yourself to become more aggressive and passive. And basically, that's what I'm trying to find out more about this topic. How do you bring yourself from a mechanical trader into somebody that's built on intuition? And I'd like to, in layman's term, just to characterize this, is how do you go from a good trader into a great trader?
So basically, my journey has been a rocky one. So before, when you asked me that question, I told you my journey that when I first started out, I started out as a mechanical trader. Because, of course, first time in the job, you have to do what Lauren said, right? Kundi baka masipa ako eh. But after achieving some form of success, you start to think na marunong na ako. You know what? Right now, I want to earn more. So what is the best or the fastest way to earn more? Is to size up more. Of course, at the time, I was only thinking about the upside. I was thinking about how much I could lose if I size up. So basically, you know what's gonna happen if a fairly amateur trader, just unknowingly size up a position. Of course, the drawdown is big. So my journey was from a mechanical trader. I stepped out. I broke the rules. I broke my wrist, and then when I was deep in the slums. So I have to crawl my way out. How I managed to do that was by going back to a mechanical trader. So the first thing that I did was control my risk.
I mean, just to butt in, I think a lot of us go through that experience where you're doing profitable, you're being a consistent trader. Ngayon, gusto mo,
yes.
You want that excess alpha of additional, let's say you're doing 20-30%, you want to make that 50-60% or even the triple digit. So I think that's normal. And what the problem is now, parang we now create more risk. We now bet more. And from your story, I think it's not just from you, but I'd like to say the same thing. Even my end, I also went through the same thing.
Yeah.
Yung problema now, you talked about now going back into a mechanical trader.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it different now?
I guess we all are guilty. Like, of course, as a trader, when you achieve some relative form of success, you start to think that the rules don't apply to you, when in fact, it applies to you even more. So, I guess when my account started to grow, like, a normal 100,000 loss would be a mortal wound. Ngayon, parang medyo scratch na lang. So, parang, gets mo, like, at one point, I just became immune to the small losses. Up until, like to put it in a description, naging infection siya, kumalat na siya. Then I just found out na grabe na pala yung sakit ko, parang ganun. Right now, so what I did was I went back to being a mechanical trader. That 1% VAR, just for me, it's a sacred rule that I didn't break for a long time. So when I recovered my account and I started to realize how important that risk is, I became more comfortable in putting in more size when I start to feel na the odds are with me.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe the challenge behind, let's say, like you were putting in more risk during the time that you wanted more, it could be because bad sentiment, bad market,
yes.
right? So it's also an understanding, parang when do you want to put in that more risk also?
Mm-hmm. I guess, but when I look back at my my process then, my reason for adding more size is just basically to earn more. What I mean by that is that my reason for going big was wrong. I just wanted to earn more, that's why I put in more size. But right now, when I wanted to put in more size, I look at specific cues in the market or in the particular stock before I put in more size. Something like that.
Fantastic. Leonard, what about you?
There's very big similarities with Jensen. So when I started, it was 2010 where I really started trading, and it was a bull market in the Philippines. So parang andali. So parang the thought process was, if I just keep doing this return forever, okay na ako in maybe 5 years, 10 years. But then that problem comes when you think you know, but you don't know what you don't know. So the problem comes when 2011 came and markets was difficult, and then same with Jensen, took a lot of risk, had a hit. The biggest issue was when you think you know and you make mistakes, iba yung impact eh. Parang loss of confidence. It doesn't become a learning opportunity. Parang dapat gets ko na to eh, ba't ako natatalo? So you get demoralized, you don't want to trade for a while. So that process took time, and because the thinking for me is today is different. When you make a mistake, it's always like, what did I not see? What could I have foreseen before? And everything is more self-compassion to the self. So that was the biggest difference today than before.
But a big challenge kasi, parang when you're going through systems trading, or you have a set of system that you always use, it's always important to know that tama ba yan o mali.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're going through your own experience about when you made money, it's hard to define na ano yung tama naman na ginawa mo nung when you were making money, as opposed to on the way down. How did you know na mali yung ginagawa mo pala?
Oh yeah, that's a good question, because the market always is not, it's always probabilistic. So you can do the right thing and lose money. You can do the wrong thing and make money. The one that stood out really is talking to different people. So always, that's why I think a community is very important, because you get the opinions of different people so that you understand where you could have made a better decision, I guess. So that's one. Anything?
I agree with Leonard. Personally, like if you see me on the floor, I have a set of routine. So if it's like 3:15, I would get up from my seat and I would talk to automatic traders yan. So sila Leonard, I would talk to Leonard, I would talk to Brian, Terence, Jason, just to get their feel of the market. Because me, as a trader, I have my own particular strength, and I'm aware of my own blind spots and biases. So it's very interesting when I talk to other traders and they tell me something that probably I wouldn't agree, but it's just very interesting to see their perspective about it. And most often than not, you after talking to some of them, you would think na parang may sense pala sinasabi nila, or medyo mali pala ako. Parang it will become evident kasi I guess when you are in love with a particular idea, it's really hard for you to detach yourself and to see other avenues of possibilities.
Have you heard of the wisdom of crowds?
The wisdom of the crowd.
What's that?
So in 1900s, they had a bull in the market, and they wanted to ask who could estimate what the weight is, and they had everyone write their own estimates. And what they found out was that the average of the estimates of everyone was the closest and very real to the actual weight of the bull. And the thinking was because each person has their own perspectives that they bring to the table. Maybe the butcher has their estimate, the one that buys the meat. So what I found was that everyone has their own way of looking at the market that improves your analysis better. So asking around and finding those best practices from each person has been very useful.
But in that story, does it account for the people who also made the mistake?
Good question. Yes, so the thinking is that you try to get the best practices, but everyone has their own blind spots. And what I've found is that we're always blind to our own blind spots. But when you're looking at the blind spots of other people, parang obvious. Parang
Yes,
obviously they're biased. So by having a community where you're just open to learn about the market and not about who's right or wrong, you're able to uncover each other's blind spots faster and easier, and that's a lot more helpful than being right or wrong.
A lot of times our systems always start off as ito lang yun. So you have a very few rules, or this is what I'm going to be doing. And then as you gain more experience, as you go through the good times and the bad times, sometimes you have more inputs now into your systems that you keep on adding, right? And I'm sure you guys have been through a lot of corrections or a lot of bear markets, or what they call, throughout the last 8-9 years of your career. So how does it change, and how has it evolved your trading style today?
Well, right now, what I can say is that, parang when I look back before, like the Jensen 4 years ago, I would see him as a very
Guwapo
emotional. Well, mas gwapo ako ngayon.
Confidence.
Wala tuloy ako. Okay, so yeah, much more confident. Yeah, that's one. Actually, it's true. But when I look back, like 4 years ago, I was very emotional. I would get very happy when I earned. When I make a great trade, a good trade, I would get very down or depressed when I'm on the losing streak. But right now, I'm much more, composed. So, and of course, with my system, I don't let any one trade or two trades, or for that matter, affect the destiny of my account. Just knowing the big picture that that it's just another trade. So even if it was a lousy trade, for whatever reason, like maybe I was wrong with my fundamentals, or maybe I was wrong with my risk management, I don't let it really affect me too much, because I know that with my system, with my skills, with my community, like it will just be another trade in the end. Yeah.
What I've noticed is that at the start, most traders have to be mechanical, because if you don't start with a mechanical system, you're gonna sink fast. So, but over time, I think it's the being able to see those cases where the mechanical system can only take you so far. And I think it's a lot of work. So, for example, every time there's a stock that moved away a lot and I wasn't able to foresee it, you go back and try to see, could you have seen it? Were there cues that allowed you to take advantage of? And that sometimes is like effort that you don't feel it immediately. As normally, for a trader, tapos na yan naiiwan ka na, you want to go to the next opportunity. But the learning coming from it is huge. And over time, the mechanical becomes more contextual. So I think that's the evolution. Rather than just rules, you know the context of where certain situations they apply, certain situations they don't apply. And that's what sets the great trader from the good trader. That's the big difference. One more thing I think is the difference between passion for trading and passion for markets. So sometimes we identify ourselves as traders. So it's like I have to be in all these stocks and I have to be catching them. But the learning comes when you're not just about making money today. It's about understanding why the market is the way it is. A lot of help came from teaching. So by being my mentoring in Caylum, you try to now understand the underlying logic. You're not just, so if it goes up, I do this, goes down, I do this. You're thinking from principles. And that makes a lot of difference in, so a new trader and an expert trader would look at the chart very differently.
Are you saying that passion for markets are more important than just understanding on the trading?
Yes, I think that's more important, that your goal is to understand why markets move the way it is, and when you understand it, executing becomes very systematic. You don't hesitate anymore. You don't hesitate to cut because you know that's how the markets work.
If I may add, I totally agree with what Leonard said, like the passion for markets and versus the passion for trading. Because I remember, like, of course, as a new trader, when you're exposed to the market, it just consumes you. The action, the ticks, the tickers, like in real time, you can see how much money you could win or lose. And I would understand the how enticing it is for a new trader. So, like, I remember before when I look at the particular chart, it was just black and white. So I would be a pure technician. So I would see a coil, like 5 coils, the same, and I would base my analysis on how perfect a particular chart looks like, without really understanding what the company does, if the company is big, what industry is the company in. But when you love the markets, or when you're passionate about the markets, you try to understand the markets more. Like, for example, what makes like what Leonard said, what makes a particular stock moves in the first place is, of course, the expectation of earnings. So if a particular industry is growing right now, of course you would want to pick a company that belongs to that industry, as opposed to a company that looks technically the same but belongs to a maturing industry. Like the passion to learn what a company really is, the intricacies of how particular variables affect a particular stock is very important.
And relating everything back into the markets today, we're having one of the most difficult times in the Philippines, especially with rising inflation and a lot of stuff that's doing more internally than externally. How do you deal with these things when it comes to understanding markets?
For me, it's really that's the experience of being able to see different market cycles keeps your head cool. So for us in the house, we trade so many markets. We trade Hong Kong, Japan, US, and neglected markets such as these has happened in Hong Kong. I don't know, so many times.
Correct.
And once you get used to it, you understand. Yes, there's an underlying problem. You don't want to push it, and you have to really be patient and wait it out until the time comes when things become clear again. And I think that's experience. It's very hard to, kasi pag bago ka, oh no, like I want to make money already. How do I do
takot
it?
ka, parang how do I do kasi bumabagsak.
Oh, or you question, is this for me? I mean, it happens to all of us. But
At one point in time.
At any point in time in the past. But after seeing so many cycles, you understand that there are times when you have to be patient, and there are times when you have
to step
push
on the
it.
gas and you have to push it.
So this is one of those markets where I think being patient and letting things pass is very important.
Yeah, agree. So I guess the best answer to that would be like a line that I heard recently in a podcast, wherein they say that when you trade the market, it's like dancing with the market. But when you dance with the market, you have to let the market lead you, not the other way around. Yeah, so so you don't force your will onto the market. So if the market is, for example, is in a downtrend, is weak, is out of favor, or is in a neglect, you don't assert your strength to it. Of course, you're gonna get trampled on. But if the market is upbeat, uptrend, of course, you have to keep pace with the market. You have to know when to size up, when to go big. So right now in the Philippines, we have so much like macro problems. And for me, of course, when I look at other markets, I see other markets that is much more viable. So I'm just gonna go dance with the.
Pwede dancing.
Yeah, so
dancing with
it's like dancing with different partners. So I'm gonna dance with the one who's ready to dance. Yeah, something like that.
On your personal end, what do you think is your biggest advantage as a trader? And what have you built as you continuously refine your systems?
I guess through time, what the market has taught me was to be humble and to be open-minded. So, there was a time that I think that making money in the stock market was easy. That this was the easy way out. But of course, 4 years, 5 years in, and you're still not making money. You would understand, your own false beliefs and limitations. So, I guess one of my biggest edges, if I'm maybe so bold to say, is that I'm very, very open-minded, and I always challenge my belief, and even if a particular idea came from a person that just is fairly new to the market, I don't just shut him off. I listen. I think if what they said makes sense, and I don't believe as easily as before. I always take opinions of others with a grain of salt. So through time you just absorb so much perspective and stuff. You just know that the market is parang end up walang magaling talaga sa market.
And you don't end up reinventing the wheel, because you take everybody's considerations, opinions, and you're able to see what's true or not, instead of having the difficulty of trying to create your own. At least may gumawa na.
True.
Diba?
Yeah. So it shortcuts the process very, very much. How I see myself is just I'm a sponge, and I take the information from different traders who has been here longer than me, or even who just came in. I just take the information and I process it, and I come up with my own hypotheses or my own view in the market.
There's a quote, I forgot by who, I think it's General Bismarck, and he was saying is that to win wars, the best players in winning wars is always those that were able to learn from other people's experience. Right? Yeah. So I figure it's also the same case in the stock market. Why do you have to keep on trying and pushing yourself when you could learn even faster by getting and learning from everybody else that have failed or have went through trouble? Leonard, what's your biggest edge? Is it your fundamentals, technicals, psychology?
High IQ.
I think the biggest edge for me would be belief. I believe that I can uncover and understand the markets, whether through different people who have done it successfully in the past, whether through the community today, whether through teaching. And by that belief, you're willing to put in the time. So I think my biggest, that's the psychological edge. My edge is being able to pick companies early on and able to find the potential for it. But to be able to do what I'm doing today, it required me to have that belief and, let's say, read through annual reports, earnings calls, thousands of them over time before you finally see what's important, what's not. And so it's that belief that pushes you to keep on going through and doing all those extra effort rather than just watching the ticker the whole day. So that's how I see as my edge.
This has been very informative on both your ends, with what you've able to accomplish and learn throughout the last 8-9 years. What would you think is more important, that experience that you've gained, that art, or having that system from the very beginning that you were able to build on?
For me, it's really the system, because that saved, even if it took me so long already, it also saved me so much time. Because if you're starting from scratch, the market is too big. There's just too many games being played. There's speculation, there's value investing, and you get confused and thrown around and you don't know what's the right thing. So to have a community that already put the foundation in place is a big difference. But to add and innovate and then create your own system after that, that's the next step. But without the foundation, I think it would have taken so long. And baka,
would it be easier to say na parang if you had a system and then you're going through the experience, at least you can make more sense of those experience?
That's also true. Yeah, because without a system, you don't know what's right or wrong. Parang it's just whether you make money or not. But you have a system, you start with that and you start questioning certain principles or beliefs that could either improve your system.
Same thing with Leonard. I think system is much more important. So I guess through my experiences, what it has really taught me was like it just hammered down how important system is to trading. So what I mean by that is that after all the bruises and wounds, I have learned so much to respect risk management. Not going big every single time that I want or that I find a stock. I want to trade a particular stock that I like. The system has also taught me like portfolio management, like not going overboard, like too many stocks in one particular in a portfolio. So it forces me to weed out those that are not performing well, even if I like those stocks. But if it's not performing well, and there's another stock that I want to put into my portfolio, I have to force myself to just cut those, like cutting the weeds out. And through time, it has saved me a lot of money. I guess for those of you guys who just want to start out, you have to have the proper foundation first before you even start, or before you even think of innovating or making your own system. Yeah.
One more thing to add. So, have you guys heard of deliberate practice? Deliberate practice is you're putting enough hours on something, some skill that you're trying to develop. So pag sa sports is easy eh. So deliberate practice could be your shooting, the right form, or the right swing of the golf club. But when you're in trading, if you don't have a system, then all the things that you're doing is not adding up to deliberate practice. It's just going through the rounds every day. But when you have a system, you're practicing deliberately to check on how that system could keep improving and evolving. So that's how I see it.
Which has been fantastic. For somebody starting out and going through their own journey and having their own system, what would be the best advice that you guys could give?
The ironic advice that if you could ask from even all those successful traders in the past is to be patient. But no one will take it seriously. Even when I was a kid.
Nagmamadali kumita ng pera.
Yes. Even when you tell me that before, like, no, I'm gonna do it faster. But
Of course, yeah.
the learning process takes so much time, and that experience is the foundation of how that system will evolve and keep on getting better. So that's one, be patient. And number two, you have to find the right mentors, and mentors with an S, because sometimes we like to follow a guru lang eh. But with multiple mentors, now you're sourcing the wisdom of the crowds, you're asking different perspectives, and that is also something hard to do, but you have to find that.
I'll tell you a story when I first entered CitySec. So I remember during the job interview, I think it was Brian, Tito Bry, who interviewed me, and he told me that this job is going to be hard. And I told him, of course, but I intend to muscle through it. And said, the learning curve here is 2 years. Of course, parang I remember I told him, you know what, I'm gonna make it in 6 months. Shortcut, So, of course, we all have that belief, right? So, fast forward 4 years, wala pa rin. So, I guess what I want to say is be patient, like what Leonard said, and you have to change some definitions in your vocabularies, like the word jackpot. Okay, so that jackpot is very, very it's a very dangerous term in the world of trading. So when I ask traders, of course, when you ask traders, like I'm sure 95% of them, when you ask them what is the definition of a jackpot for you in trading, most of them are gonna say, of course, cashing a 10 bagger, cashing a 20 bagger, like. But I remember this conversation I had with Lawrence wherein he told me his definition of a jackpot, and it really resonated with me. So what he said, that what a jackpot is being able to earn consistently, doing the things that you love, that it is enough to turn it into a business. So I guess when your definition of a jackpot is that definition, you would start to take trading in a completely different view or in a completely different light. You won't necessarily go for that particular one stock that's gonna make the 10 bagger. You'll slowly want to remain in the game, to do the things that you love and earn consistently from it. So I guess that's something that I want to share to young traders out there.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
So, for a starting trader, the ability to question your beliefs, I think, is very crucial because we all have our beliefs that could hinder the learning. So, for example, for some, ayoko yan, speculative yan. By setting that, you're limiting yourself to learning opportunities. Or for some is...
Parang inayaw mo na, hindi mo pa nakikinig.
Yeah, so you don't question those beliefs, and in the market, you're always gonna be stuck in a loop and never learn because the market is not a good feedback mechanism. You make money, you don't know if you're really doing right or wrong. So you find those mentors that will help you question your beliefs. I think that's very crucial also.
Yeah, you guys gave great advice. This is a game for the long haul where you have to find out from a very early stage and prepare yourselves for this entire game for the rest of your lives, for sure. Thanks, guys, so much for coming. Jensen, Leonard, appreciate.
Yeah.
Glad to help.
Glad to help.
All right, there you guys have it. I'll see you guys soon enough next week. If you want to know more about what's happening to the market, or you want to know what on individual companies, feel free to tell us. We'll talk more about it on the next podcast. Have a great week.